Welcome to the most incredible story in monster truck history. Today, we're diving deep into the legend of Medusa, the pink powerhouse that shattered every barrier in the male-dominated world of Monster Jam. Picture this. It's 1999. The world of professional wrestling and monster trucks are about to collide in the most unexpected way. Debra Miceli, better known by her wrestling persona Medusa, was already a household name. She'd fought in the legendary Monday Night Wars between WCW and WWF, making headlines when she threw the WWF Women's Championship belt in the trash on live television. But Debra wasn't satisfied with just conquering the wrestling ring. She wanted more. Let me take you back to how this all started. The name Medusa actually stands for Made in the USA. But it's also a clever play on Medusa from Greek mythology, the woman with snakes for hair who turned enemies to stone. And trust me, Medusa would turn the monster truck world upside down. In late 1999, Debra received a phone call that would change her life forever. WCW had a cross-promotion deal with Monster Jam, and they needed drivers for 5 wrestling-themed monster trucks. Dennis Anderson himself, the legendary creator and driver of Gravedigger, personally reached out to Medusa. Can you imagine? The most famous monster truck driver in history wanted her to join the team. But here's the thing. Debra knew absolutely nothing about driving monster trucks. She was a nurse before wrestling, and now she was being asked to pilot a 12-foot-tall, 10,000-pound beast. During her very first driving test, she drove the truck straight into a ditch. She thought her monster truck career was over before it even began. But Dennis Anderson saw something special in her, that same fire and determination that made her a champion wrestler. So she trained hard. And in January 2000, Medusa made her official debut in Birmingham, Alabama. The truck featured a 1999 Ford F-150 body style, and it was unlike anything the crowd had ever seen. Here was a woman, in a male-dominated sport, commanding this massive machine with the same intensity she brought to the wrestling ring. By March 2000, just 2 months after her debut, Medusa was invited to compete at the inaugural Monster Jam World Finals in Las Vegas. Think about that for a second. A complete rookie, competing at the biggest event in monster truck history. That's the Medusa effect. But the early years weren't easy. From 2000 to 2003, Medusa proved she belonged in the arena. She won freestyle competitions, took home racing victories, and earned the respect of fans and fellow drivers alike. In 2002, despite every other WCW-themed truck being retired after WWE bought out WCW, Medusa continued competing. Why? Because Debra had trademarked her wrestling name. This truck was hers. In 2004, everything changed. Medusa received a complete redesign, a brand new 2004 Ford F-150 body with an updated paint scheme. And at World Finals 5 in Las Vegas, history was made. During her freestyle run, Medusa hit 5 massive jumps and even knocked into Bounty Hunter, which got stuck on a trailer. The crowd went absolutely insane. When the scores came in, Medusa had tied for first place with a score of 31 points, sharing the championship with El Toro Loco and Maximum Destruction. Debra Miceli became the first woman ever to win a Monster Jam World Finals championship. Can you feel that energy? The roar of the crowd? This wasn't just a victory, it was a revolution. But Medusa wasn't done, not even close. In 2005, at World Finals 6, she did something even more incredible. It was a muddy, treacherous racing competition, the kind of conditions that separate champions from everyone else. And who was Medusa's opponent in the finals? None other than Dennis Anderson in Gravedigger, the man who trained her, the legend himself. The student versus the master. The race was intense. The mud was flying, two titans battling it out. And when the dust settled, Medusa had won. She defeated Dennis Anderson to claim the 2005 Monster Jam World Finals Racing Championship. 2 years in a row, 2 world championships. Debra Miceli had proven beyond any doubt that she was one of the greatest drivers in monster truck history. Now, let's talk about the technical beast that made all this possible. The Medusa monster truck was an absolute powerhouse. We're talking about a machine that stood 10.5 feet tall and 12.5 feet wide, weighing in at a massive 12,000 pounds. Under that custom Ford F-150 body was a supercharged 540 to 572 cubic inch engine, specifically a supercharged Chevrolet big block that could generate between 1,500 to 2,000 horsepower. To put that in perspective, your average family car has maybe 150 to 200 horsepower. Medusa had 10 times that power. The truck rode on absolutely massive 66-inch tall BKT Terra tires. That's 5.5 feet of pure rubber. The suspension system was custom designed to absorb the incredible impacts from 20, 30, sometimes 40-foot jumps. And the transmission? A Coan 2-speed transmission specifically built to handle the extreme torque and brutal punishment of arena racing and freestyle competitions. Medusa could accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds and reach top speeds of 80 to 100 miles per hour. Inside those massive tires was a tube chassis frame, the backbone that held everything together through the most violent crashes and landings you can imagine. In 2011, something special happened. The truck received a brand new bright pink paint scheme that would become its signature look for the rest of its career. This wasn't just any pink. It was inspired by Debra's personal Harley Davidson motorcycle. But the pink also served a bigger purpose, raising awareness for breast cancer research. Medusa became a symbol of strength, not just in competition, but in the fight against cancer. The phrase "Queen of Carnage" was emblazoned on the truck, and that pink machine became one of the most recognizable and beloved trucks in Monster Jam history. But the story gets even better. In 2013, at World Finals 14, Medusa successfully landed her first backflip at the end of her freestyle run. Debra became the first female driver ever to land a backflip in a monster truck. And if that wasn't enough, in 2015, she landed a consecutive backflip in Melbourne, Australia, making her the first female driver to land that stunt too. Over the years, Medusa competed in every Monster Jam World Finals from 2000 to 2005, and then again from 2009 to 2016. That's 12 World Finals appearances. The truck traveled the globe, competing in the United States, Canada, Mexico, England, Wales, Sweden, Finland, Italy, Spain, France, Belgium, Netherlands, Australia, New Zealand, and Costa Rica. Medusa wasn't just an American legend. She was a global phenomenon. The statistics are absolutely mind-blowing. Over her career, Medusa won numerous racing competitions, freestyle events, wheelie contests, and donut competitions. She competed in over 200 events during her active years. In 2015, Medusa was selected as one of only 16 trucks to compete in the inaugural Fox Sports 1 Championship Series, an honor reserved for only the very best. But like all great stories, this one had its challenges. In 2006, Debra left Monster Jam due to pay disputes.
For 3 years, Medusa was retired. But Debra couldn't stay away from the sport she loved. She joined Bigfoot 4x4 and drove a truck called Medusa Bigfoot, even becoming vice president of the Major League of Monster Trucks. But when that organization folded in 2009, guess what happened? Medusa came back to Monster Jam. Bigger, badder, and ready to show everyone what they'd been missing. However, the sport took its toll. In 2014, Debra suffered a serious injury during a show in Australia after a hard landing. In 2016, she broke her shoulder performing a backflip in Glendale, Arizona, forcing her out of competition for 5 months.
The injuries were piling up, and Debra knew her time was running short. In 2016, it was announced that 2017 would be Medusa's farewell tour, with a special chrome paint scheme planned to celebrate her legendary career. But fate had other plans. Debra suffered another injury, and she couldn't drive for the entire season. The chrome paint scheme was scrapped, and Medusa was quietly retired from competition. But here's where the legend status is cemented. In 2020, Debra announced a comeback. A true farewell tour with a brand new Medusa truck built in Australia. But just as the tour was starting, the COVID-19 pandemic hit, and once again, Medusa's farewell was cut short. It's like the universe didn't want to see Medusa retire, because her legacy was just too powerful to end. Let's talk about that legacy. Medusa wasn't just a monster truck, it was a movement. Of all the wrestling-themed Monster Jam trucks ever created, Medusa was the only one actually driven by its namesake. Think about that. This wasn't just a marketing gimmick. This was Debra Miceli putting her reputation, her body, and her life on the line every single time she got behind that wheel. Medusa appeared in multiple video games: Monster Jam Maximum Destruction, Monster 4x4 Masters of Metal, Monster Jam Path of Destruction, Monster Jam Battlegrounds, and Monster Jam Crush It. The truck had countless Hot Wheels die-cast releases, and here's a cool fact. Each Medusa die-cast variant was only released for one specific year and never repeated, making them some of the rarest Hot Wheels collectibles in existence. In 2015, Debra Miceli was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame under her Alundra Blaze persona, recognition for her groundbreaking wrestling career. She couldn't even attend World Finals that year because she was at the Hall of Fame ceremony. Talk about a legend in multiple worlds. The impact of Medusa goes far beyond trophies and championships. She opened the door for every female driver who came after her. Before Medusa, people questioned whether women could handle these extreme machines. After Medusa, nobody questioned it anymore. She proved that talent, determination, and heart matter more than gender. She showed young girls everywhere that they could do anything, whether that's wrestling in front of millions or flying through the air in a 12,000-pound monster truck. Dennis Anderson, the legend who trained her, once said that Medusa was one of the best drivers he'd ever seen, male or female. Coming from the creator of Gravedigger, that's the ultimate compliment. Today, Debra Miceli is retired from competition, but her legacy lives on. The pink Medusa truck is remembered as one of the most iconic machines in Monster Jam history. When fans think of trailblazers, pioneers, and absolute warriors, they think of Medusa. This is a story about defying expectations, about taking risks, about getting knocked down and getting back up, whether that's in a wrestling ring or after crashing a monster truck. Medusa represents the spirit of never giving up, of pushing boundaries, and of proving that greatness has no gender. So the next time you hear that engine roar, the next time you see a monster truck soar through the air, remember Medusa. Remember the woman who changed everything, the Queen of Carnage, the First Lady of Monster Jam, the two-time world champion, the legend. That's the story of Medusa, the monster truck that became an icon and the woman who became immortal.